in this world where people are activating their spiritual gifts and connecting into their higher self and connecting into their guides and connecting into who the heck knows what, you see, it's important to have the clarity. If you have the clarity within yourself, my dears, and you're working from the heart point of love, and you're holding that powerful intention of love, then it's going to be a good day, you see. The more you're connected into your light, your love, your center point, your soul song, you, who you are in consciousness, the more you are anchored in that, the more you're able to experience the beauty of duality, the beauty of polarity, the beauty of the life all around. You're able to be in honor of all the different frequencies that are different from you. We're creating a world where anything gets to be. Because in the world of polarity, in the world of duality, there is specificity. There is individuality. There is discernment. There is boundary. There is all of these fractals in consciousness that are unique, that do sound different, dance different, look different, play different. And our job is to come into wholeness, to come into the experience of the wholeness that always is, and come into the awe and the remembrance of who you are as a unique fractal in consciousness, choosing this ride on this journey of life. Welcome, loves. Ava Orah here, back for an amazing episode here, connected into our Spirit Guides Speak series, which you're welcome to watch the whole thing if you want to binge watch, but this one stands on its own and it's important. So today we are really talking about boundaries in the unseen world, and how do we know if we're connected to something loving and something pure and something that is really in our highest good and our highest intention, especially if it's a new frequency that we're not familiar with, or it's a new guide, or it's somebody that is channeling, or something that we're learning how to channel. If you're learning how to channel and you're wondering like what you're connected to, all these kind of questions of how to really discern and not be afraid, so that's really the topic here today. And I'm so excited to dive into it. So those who are new here, welcome. My name is Ava, and I channel a frequency known as DiYeena, who's of the Pleiadian family. And so she also will bring her in later to give her 2 cents on this topic of boundaries in the unseen world and the spirit world, and how to really discern and navigate in that way from the perspective of the guides, and see what they have to say about it too. So I'm going to share my own personal history with it, because I got a lot of it. For those who don't know, I grew up as a Midwestern girl, and my dad was a Lutheran minister. And so I grew up with a very specific background in spirituality, and kind of had to learn through my own way of navigating what this world is. And, had my own I just had a lot of learning to do. I was very sheltered. And so going through all of that, I had some of my own initiations into this world a little bit. And it's starting with learning how to meditate and things like that, and learning how to discern. And what I'll say here is, there's many things that kind of open your energetic field and can open up different tears and holes in your auric field, right? And so one thing to know about the unseen world, or the astral plane, right? That's the level here that we don't see, but is all around. The astral plane itself is the world of angels and demons, is the world of light and dark, is the world of polarity in the unseen realm. And it's 50-50 out there, like in terms of the good guys and the bad guys, if you want to look at it in just very blunt ways, because I think that's really the question here, is from a very human perspective, like, is this a good guy or a bad guy? Let's just get real here, because that's what we really want to know, right? And so that's really on that level. If you really do have to have discernment, you really do have to have some energetic boundaries. Isn't necessarily the word I would use, although sometimes that's necessary to have that. But it shows up more in energetic clarity. It shows up more in precision of your light field. It shows more up in the sense of a assuredness in your own frequency. And that becomes impenetrable. And so it's less like, I'm going to put up a wall around me. And it's more, you're so in your light and there's so you're just not available for playing in those fields that it strengthens naturally over time. But in the beginning, you really have to be aware of things that can kind of puncture your field and that can kind of tear that aura. And if you're not conscious in learning how to repair that, then those can be really easy ways for energies that you're not aware of or not consciously aware of to kind of slip in. And this isn't meant to be fearful. So I really want everybody to kind of just like take the fear part out of it for a second, because when we don't know something, we often jump to fear. And so what I'm really asking for is the open mind to just be in the conversation, be in the exploration of it. I'm here to share a story. It's not meant to be fearful, and so that's really the biggest takeaway. If you can take one thing away from this episode, is to really let go of the fear in all of this, especially when you're working with the unseen world, because the energetics that are like on the bad guys, if you want to look at it like that, like the ones that are just playing in that way in consciousness, because there's really no like right or wrong, good or bad in the grand scheme of things. There's just frequency in consciousness that we're choosing to play with. So there's certain souls that are choosing to go into experiences and go into forms that are choosing consciously to forget about love, if you want to think about it like that, to play in a world that looks and feels in a particular way, that navigates in the world of fear and navigates in the world of pain and all of these different frequencies. There is a desire to experience that on a soul level. So they're playing that out, right? And so on your end, if that's not your desire, that's not what you're here for, you're here to play in the light and do what you're here to do, then it's just important to be aware that there's other souls having different experiences, but it's not there for you to be afraid of. It's there for you to be discerning of. And that's the differentiator here. It's not like, let's put up a bunch of boundaries and a bunch of walls and navigate it in that kind of way, because it's not really the most empowered way to go about it. The way we go about this is to understand what they're there for and what we're here for. And if it's not a frequency match, it's not a frequency match. You can't play in the same sandbox if there's different frequencies going on. It just doesn't work. And so that's really the message here. And so when you're looking at this thing about like, okay, we've got a negative energy over here, and here I am. Is there anything in my field that's allowing that energetic to have a place to hook in, to have a place that is a frequency match? And so things that create these lower vibrational frequency matches are things like, they call it spirits for a reason. So alcohol is a big one. And there's actually a lot of energies that actually hang out in the unseen world around bars and clubs like that because they have that lower vibrational frequency. And there's a lot of humans that are walking around with holes and tears in their aura without even knowing about it, because alcohol really does contribute, and drugs in general can contribute to puncturing the aura in that kind of way. Also tears it from having different relationships, that if you're intertwined with somebody else on a energetic astral level and you have a breakup and you haven't actually done the completion energetically to kind of reseal up your field separate from their field, and that you're really reclaiming your energy and really kind of separating out those threads, that can also be places where things can slip in unnecessarily or unawareingly, right? So again, this is not meant to scare you. Okay. I want to share too that, I've been through this. This is something I'm not unaware of. I'm not speaking naively here. I've actually, in my early days, had to navigate this exact thing. I had to go find somebody to help me remove things, because I didn't have that capacity to know what was going on. This is like early teens, like late teens, early 20s. This is decades ago when I was really unclear of how energy worked at all. And so I'm really bringing this from that place of perspective of what it really means to integrate your energetic field over time, and that it's okay if you have to go see somebody to have an annual entity checkup. It's not the end of the world until you've strengthened your field, to just have someone on hand that works with this in this way, to just check and see, is there anything that's not your frequency in your field? DiYeena does this work with people one-on-one all the time. She's like, do you see any false light? Anything that's not your essence? And it's all it is discerning your light from frequencies that are not you. It's not your essence. It's not your soul song. And so when you look at it through that lens, it's not really anything to be afraid of. It's just really, where are the places where we have given over our power, and what do we need to do to reclaim that power? What do we need to do to come back into coherence? And we're coming into coherence with our own soul song, your unique note in consciousness, in a whole, complete way. And the more that you're bringing back those pieces, closing up those leaks, those energetic leaks in your field, the stronger your essence becomes, and your light gets bigger. Your light grows from that. And the more you're paying attention to your diet, live foods, living foods, consciously, charged water that's charged with love, these little things that you can do to actually increase the electromagnetic capacity of your field. It's actually strengthening that light. DiYeena talks about the simple way. We do it every freaking time we have tea from our land, right? That's strengthening your field. That's strengthening your biofield. That's strengthening your electromagnetic capacity, and that's clarifying you. She also does this technique where she calls it aura brushing, where you literally brush your aura, and you can do this naked in the after the shower, but it's actually using your fingertips, your fingers, your 10 fingers on your naked skin. And this is different than water cleansing. This is actually an energy bath where you're literally wiping all your skin all over your body, front and back, down your legs, on your back, wherever you can reach. You're just doing this bare skin to bare skin. And what this is doing, I could feel the difference already. And DiYeena sometimes will do this. If I haven't showered yet and I bring her in for the day, she literally starts brushing my aura. She's like, oh, what is happening here? And she's like brushing me. I'm too dirty. That was a little tip. So there's just different ways you can actually clean up your own energetic field and strengthen your energy, strengthen your light. Now, here's the thing. Once you start building your light, it's really important that you're aware. Again, it's 50-50, right? In the unseen world. So energies are going to be attracted to the light. It's like a moth to a flame, right? So beings that see a strong light, they go to check out what's going on. I'm like, oh, look at that one. Like, what's going on over there? That doesn't mean that they're allowed to come in. Like, that's like, the same boundaries exist in the spirit world that exist in this world. Like, you can still lock your door, and it's like you wouldn't invite any stranger into your house. Maybe you'd invite some, but there's, if some come to your door, you just get a bad vibe. You're like, maybe send them a piece of bread and have them on their way. I don't know, but you don't necessarily let them come into your home, right? And so it's the same kind of discernment when you're really working with the unseen team. And so for a lot of you, you've had some kind of weird experience, or some kind of experience that has you even tuning into this video. Right. And so what's actually happening here is really the question is like, what is this frequency, and what is actually happening? And can I trust this? And is this good? And should this be in my field? And all these kind of questions. This is really to say that you get to discern, you get to have authority here. And this is really, really important, is that you're actually showing up in a way that you're the boss here. Like, you're the boss. You get to actually say whether something stays or goes, and if it doesn't feel good, this is the biggest test. Things, especially for you seers out there, those of you that can see beings, they might look beautiful. They might look radiant. The litmus test is in your feeling body. How does it feel? Do you have any sort of tightening in your body? Do you have any sort of constriction? Do you have any sort of uneasiness? Do you have any sort of like pullback? Like, do you feel safe? Does it feel loving? Does it feel, there's just a sense when something is off. There's just this feeling of like, maybe it's even like a little bit of confusion or murkiness in the field. There's just some little signal. If you're really clear and you're really able to just like listen and feel, your body will tell you. Your body will actually tell you, and trust it. Trust it, because I've also had those kind of experiences even recently. Because again, like that light body gets stronger and stronger. Like I'm channeling DiYeena, the Pleiadian, like it's a strong light. It's like a high frequency. And so there's a lot of energies that like are around, right? But that doesn't mean that they all get to come to the party and play, right? And so like I've got amazing protectors, right, that are in my field that don't even allow anything that's not agreed on by me and of love and light to be even anywhere close to the field. And it's a big freaking field. It's a big field of light. And there's a lot of beings that come around big beings of light that want to play, that want that are attracted. So it's like, but they can't because it's not a frequency vibe. So you have to really trust that it's like, I'm like seeing this, like, I don't even know, maybe there's like a cartoon about it where there's like these like beings like kind of running, or these little guys running toward this, like, I'm just seeing like this invisible wall that they don't know is there. And then all of a sudden they're like boing, and they get back. They like kind of like get thrown back or something. I don't know if anybody knows that kind of like cartoon. I feel like I'm seeing it from my childhood or something. It's like boing, and then they fall over, and they don't realize that it's like some sort of like invisible wall. Anyway, it's like that, if that makes sense. It's like they can't penetrate the wall because your energy is so strong. And so that's also the thing. It's not even necessarily that you're putting up this wall of a boundary. It's that you are just so anchored in your soul song. You are so anchored in your light, in your love, in who you are. You're unavailable for other frequencies to be playing along with you. You know, it's just not in your available. You're just not available for it. So that's really where this goes, is in the beginning, when you are unsure, when you are in fear, when you are not clear in yourself, when you are murky in your own awareness, in your own beingness, when you don't trust yourself, when you're in these kind of states where there isn't clarity, that's the type of availability that allows for availability for other energies to kind of play in those kind of ways. And again, it's not meant to scare you. It's like a big deal. If something comes in, it's like having a splinter, right? You just like find somebody that can pull the splinter out. It's not a big deal, right? But you do have to be aware that this can happen and does happen. It's not uncommon. That's the other thing. It's not uncommon. So know that about just life and this unseen world it's not uncommon. It is important to have healthy boundaries. It's important to have a conversation. So this is really a video that's meant for people that have already had some sort of experience with something in the unseen world, and they're really trying to discern, like, is this of my highest good and love and all the things. One way is you just ask. If you're connected to them, and you can just ask, like, can you repeat the name of God? See what they say. If you don't know the name that they said, look it up. Look it up. Ask them what their name is. I had an experience once recently where I was in the bath, like connecting. I was desiring to kind of connect in with a specific guide in my field. And I heard a name that I'd never heard before. And it was like, it ended in L, like an angelic name, like an L name. But the name and the frequency of the name like felt like something didn't feel right when they said their name. And I was like, ooh, this doesn't feel like, and I could really feel that it was something trying to get into the field, right? And the water is a portal energy. So if you are doing any kind of work in water, it's even more important to kind of hold really clear boundaries in that, and even call in your guides to kind of help support that portal energy to be clean, you know? And so what I learned from that, you know, it wasn't even that I learned anything, because it was more a confirmation of like, yes, I'm attuned enough to notice when something is in the field, not coming into me, or even available to come in. It's not that. It's really just checking out what's going on here, and seeing if they can have any kind of influence over me, seeing if there's any way to get through. So can guides pretend to be somebody else? In my experience, that's one of the ways that they work, honestly, is that if it's something of they can be tricksters, they can be a little deceptive. And so it is important that you kind of have these foundational questions. Can you say I love you? If they're not of love, they're not going to be able to say I love you. If they're not coming from that pure, everything comes from one, right? But it's, again, what is their role in consciousness? What game are they playing in this dimension that you're intertwined with? What is their agreement in this particular form? So it's not about, is it love or not love? Like from that perspective, we're all one and everyone's just playing a different role in consciousness. But you have to say, is this a frequency I want to be dancing with in this body, in this timeline? And what are they dancing with in this body, in this timeline? It's the same way we discern about anything, even relatives that we don't want to engage with, because they're dancing in different experiences. Okay. So you have to be willing to clarify in the same way that you clarify the ones in your life. You can say, I'm going to love you, but I'm going to love you from over here, because any closer than that, I can't be in my heart. I can't keep my heart open to you. It's the same thing with these energetics in the unseen world. It's like, okay, I love you. I'm not here to play that game that you're playing. I'm over here playing a different game. So more power to you. Do your thing. Great job being the bad guy, as DiYeena would say. Like, way to go. We'll come up and have a cup of tea when you're done and talk all about it. But I'm not choosing to dance in that frequency. Period. End of story. So it's your job to hold in that authority. And your authority means you get to tell them to leave. You just say, get out of here. You're not invited to the party. You just say, please go. Bye-bye. Done. Okay. And now here's the subtlety, the caveat here is everything in you needs to be aligned with that statement. So if there's a part of you that actually is in agreement with whatever energetic this is, sometimes we do that. We make contracts and agreements with other energies because they're actually playing some kind of role. They're filling some kind of frequency that we haven't reclaimed for ourselves yet. And so this could be a sense of power. This could be a sense of love. Like I literally, I'll tell you the story. When I was in my early teens and I had this experience of having something in my heart, and it like literally could feel something in there. And I went to a rabbi and like told him the story. And basically in this process of working with this frequency, I literally had a flashback of being on this other timeline or this other past life, if you want to call it that, parallel reality of being burned at the stake and having someone literally basically put an end to it. Like somebody I loved. It was someone I loved that actually like put a knife through me so they didn't want to see me suffer anymore. And in that moment, imagine like there's so many being burned at the stake, right? So it's this whole thing of terror, pain, trauma, all this stuff. You can imagine it's a heyday for negative entities and they're all hanging out in that kind of environment, right? So it's like attracts like, so they're all there in that field. And in that moment of what I perceived to be a loving act, here I am burning, my body's burning. And this person that I loved literally, said, I love you, and finished it so that I didn't have to suffer in my body anymore. And in that moment, a negative entity came in and was sitting in there in my heart space, pretending my interpretation of that energy was that was what love was. So it slipped in and was so sneaky to have me believe that this was love. So it was actually when it came time to like release it, was like, was there any part of me that wasn't in agreement with letting this thing go? And actually I could feel myself being like, whoa, we can't let that go. That's love. That's love. Can't let that go. And so it took me a minute to recognize, oh, whoa. And thank God I had a qualified and skilled practitioner to help me through that process to recognize what was actually happening there. And so I was able to let that go because soon as I recognized that it was something that was not of me, it was not my essence, it was not actually the essence of love. It's like it completely unhooked immediately. And so that's the thing. It's like I was, before that moment of recognizing that truth, was convinced I needed to hold on to it because part of me thought that was love. Does that make sense? It's a wild story, but I'm sharing it out of who knows what, kind of consequence here with all of the people thinking what they want to think about it. But it's all they'll say is that it's not uncommon. First of all, it's really not uncommon. And we can be holding on to things in our field that are not our essence, are not our purity of our soul song, that can have other stuff going on in the frequency because of a reason. There's a reason underneath it. And when you clear the reason, or you get clear in the true essence of yourself, then there's nothing to hook into anymore. It's like, oh, I don't need to hold on to this demonic energy entity in my heart because I think that it's love anymore, because I'm actually replacing that with my own soul song, with my own heart, with my own energy. That's what's choosing to be alive. I don't need that false light, right? And so that's the subtlety there, is that there's so many layers of subtlety when you really start to unpack. And again, this is not meant to freak anybody out. It's really not. It's like, oh, this is like, and if you've never had this kind of experience before, like it can feel like, whoa, but it's really not meant for that. It's really because there are a lot of people that are struggling with this very topic, that have had experiences, that are trying to make sense of some of these unseen things and like how this all works. And so I'm giving you my own raw experience here, because I'm in the hopes that whether it gets me a few haters, it actually helps somebody. It actually gives somebody some clarity and some recognition of like, oh, wow. First of all, there has to be an agreement. There has to be a soul agreement for anything to be dancing with you, whether it's something that is, I channel DiYeena, right? That's a conscious soul agreement. Whether you're channeling a specific frequency, that's a soul agreement. If you're choosing to allow another energy or frequency that has a name and a soul and a thing or whatever to dance in your field, whether you want to call that an entity attachment or however you want to relate to that, there has to be a soul agreement to dance with that particular frequency and to have that false light. And again, it's literally because it all comes from the one source, right? But there is a specificity to your light. There is a specificity to your note in consciousness. And so it is really clarifying, what is the specificity that is me? And have I made agreements with false light, with energetics that are not of my essence, my soul song? And what are those agreements? Like, what is it? Am I feeling safe? Is it keeping me small? Is it keeping me comfortable? Is it keeping me feeling like I have love or protection or, right? And so these are just certain things that I've seen in clients in the past, that I've worked with, that others have, that I've experienced. So this is just things I've witnessed over the past 30 years of doing this work. So it's just things to be aware of in the field, right? And just different ways to think about it. All that said, I can see some of you going like, whoa, like that's a lot, right? It is but it is important to not be naive. If you're going to be doing this work, you're going to be connecting with things that you're not seeing, you have to have discernment. You have to have, especially in the beginning, if you want to call it a boundary, call it a boundary. You have to be willing to have boundaries. You have to have clarity in your field. You have to have discernment in that way. And the discernment is literally an attunement. It's an attunement. That's all that's happening here, is you're attuning to you. You're attuning to your source, your frequency, and you're connecting your light into source consciousness. That is what we all come from. And you're clarifying your field and discerning what is yours and what is source song that is not specific to your individual unique soul and consciousness, your unique fractal in consciousness. So you have a uniqueness, and that's what we're talking about here, is coming into alignment with your particularity. And when you come into alignment with that, that is what gets to lead the show here. And that's what allows you to connect with confidence. Now, when it comes to specific guides, like your spirit guides, and that's what this series is, the one thing to mention here is your guides, it's going to feel loving. If it's your guide, it's going to feel loving. And I've said this before in previous episodes. It's going to feel loving because that's the agreement. That's the agreement, is for it to feel loving. It is a loving agreement. It's a loving contract that you have with someone you already trust, someone you already know well, that you are asking for spiritual support, for energetic support, for a little bit of a guidepost along the way, for these moments in time where we just feel like we need a little boost or a little reminder, a little help, right? Or a little, like, just a little support. That's what they're there for, but you stand on your own. You stand as a sovereign frequency in consciousness that no other being on this planet, on the whole cosmos has. It's unique. Your song is unique to you. And so the more you clarify, the more you tap into your essence, the more you allow that to be the driving force. So you're not letting the traumas, you're not letting the stories, you're not letting the old beliefs, you're not letting the family lineage, you're not letting all of these patterns of frequency that aren't essence run the show. If they're not running the show, guess who's in the driver's seat? You. And when you're in the driver's seat, that means that you are able to shine your light. And when you are shining your light, you are unavailable for anything to throw you off course. You're unavailable for energetics to penetrate that field. Like, it's just not part of your agreement anymore. And so in the beginning, the only reason why these energies are even allowed to play is because we're choosing to dance with frequencies that are not our essence, meaning we're dancing with fear, we're dancing with a lack of self-love, we're dancing with a lack of self-trust or unworthiness or depression or loneliness or, right? And so these are frequencies that are dancing in those particulars. So if you're choosing to dance along with it in those frequencies, you have to be aware that there are energetics there that are really excited to play those games. Okay. And so it's just important, especially if you are navigating some of those kind of heavier, denser frequencies, at least put up your guides, at least call in your protectors and say, protectors, I don't know your names, maybe you do. But I know I have them because everybody gets them. Okay. Everybody has protector guides, and just say, thank you so much for being my protectors. And I give you permission to go to work on my behalf today. Can you please surround me with your love and light and protect my field and keep anything out of my field that is not of love and light. Right. And that allows you to kind of move through whatever agreements you've made with whatever frequencies you're choosing to experience, even some of the denser ones, and still do it in a way that's honoring you as the source of what you're actually moving through. So you're not playing with frequencies that aren't you, So you get to decide, and you are in the driver's seat. It's never something that's happening to you. It's never an invasion that's happening to you unless part of you has invited that in. Okay. And this can happen consciously or subconsciously. But I'm just saying, like, it's important to take ownership of that part of you that said yes to this agreement, and to get clear in that agreement and why you agreed to that, right? Like, what's the lesson? What's the gift here in this? And then seeing, am I done with this? Am I really ready to be complete with this? And oftentimes looking underneath, like for me, I had to really be clear that I was ready to let go of this false sense of love so that I could actually experience the actually true love that's always been there underneath that story, right? And so that's what's available when you really kind of go into these places. And again, it's like, we can call it, a negative entity or a demon or all of these like scary words, right? It's just frequency of consciousness, and it's all fractals in consciousness choosing their experiences. They're all fractals of consciousness coming from the same source of love that are choosing to play in different ways. You've been the bad guy in a past life. You've been the good guy in a past life. Like, we're all doing it all. So take the judgment out of it, take the fear out of it, and allow yourself to just land in the place of, who am I? What is me? What is mine? What is my energy? And what is, again, false light or not of essence? It's the cleanest way to say it. What's not my essence? Is there anything in my field right now that is not my essence? That is not my soul song? And you just literally just ask it to leave, to say, I'm done with this frequency. If you're really done with it, right? And then if you're really done with it, it has to leave because you've commanded it to. And if it's not leaving, it's because a part of you isn't done with it and is still agreeing to the story. And so you have to really be willing to go under the hood and look at what you're getting out of that story and why you're still believing that story is important to hang on to. So it's all frequency. It's not meant to be scary. And the more but you allow yourself to be in fear in these kind of places, the more you open yourself up to the availability of the psychic attacks and the vulnerabilities and all of that kind of stuff, right? And so it's a subtle dance, and you really are so much more empowered than you might realize. Like, you really have so much more power in this. And so that's really the message here, is to allow yourself to step into that power and to be in your essence, because that's when you're in your essence, nothing can penetrate. Nothing. Like, it's just not allowed. It's not allowed. You agree. You are making agreements. And if it's not of love, not of light, and you're not on board with it, it's not going to come in. So that's the pure message. And that was like one of the, I've told this story before, but for those who maybe haven't heard it, the first time DiYeena came through, that was my from coming from a pastor's kid in the Midwest, that was my first question, was, how do I know I'm not channeling the devil? How do I know this is of love? Right? Like, these are common questions when we start to have spiritual experiences that we can't explain with the mind. Like, this is oftentimes where we go, is to these fear questions. And oftentimes it comes from this place of just wanting to make sure that we are like channeling love and being connected to love, right? That's the desire, because that is really deeply in my belief, the core of the human experience is love, and so that is a desire. Like, we're all like moving back to love all the time. Like, we can't ever run away from it for too long, So in that experience of questioning that, I went to a channeler who had originally told me that I was going to be channeling decades ago. And I was like, I got to call her, because she was the one that originally said that this was even going to happen. And so I called her, and then she connects in with your angels. And so I was talking to my angels, and so, how do I know I'm connected to love? How do I know this is loving? They just start laughing, and they're like, "Oh, my dear sweet child, like, it's free." And then so they sit me down and basically tell me how frequency works. and DiYeena says it, like, vibe attracts vibe, right? And so you can't be spinning in that which you're not somehow agreeing to on a frequency level. And she's like, you're of the angelic realm. Like, you can't channel anything other than love. And so really it is a frequency game. And so where's your frequency? What are you agreeing to in your field? And what are you unavailable for? And so that really clarifies in such a powerful way that really makes the boundary question a little irrelevant in a certain way. And again, it doesn't mean that at certain times there aren't moments where you call in the big guns and you put up your boundaries and you have to like call in your protectors to clear the field, because there is something. You could walk into a house that has something going on and you would have to clear it out, or whatever the case may be. It's not necessarily that it's in you or around you, but it's just in the field and needs some attention, right? And again, even that, it's like, I'm kind of going on all these different directions, but these are all important pieces. I have people come to me and be like, oh man, there's this energy that's in this house or in this business, in this space. And like, we can't get rid of it. It just won't go. And they're like, we've tried to clear it so many times, and it just like keeps messing with us, keeps moving stuff, and keeps doing all these things. Or, this is like one specific example that I'm thinking of this business owner who had a shop that, they kept moving the different statues. This is like a spiritual shop, right? And they have all these oracle decks and stuff, and they would like turn them upside down and like just like messing around, right? And I said to her, I was like, well, have you asked this being what they want or what they need? And they're like, I didn't even think of that, And so like, it's also important to recognize that we don't need to go around just like banishing everything out of existence, and say like anything that doesn't align with our frequency is not bad and does not need to be like, does not need to necessarily leave. Maybe it does because it's your space and you don't want it in your space, and that's a different story. But like, it's important to ask, what's going on? Hey, how you doing? What's your name? Why are you here? Do you need anything? Like, have a conversation first before we just start banishing things to the nethers, and just like blowing them back to light and love without understanding what they're there for. So like, everyone has a mission and a purpose, even if it's not something that aligns with what we're here for. Like, doesn't mean that it's necessarily something to like banish or get rid of, So be aware that we're all on a journey and we're all doing our thing, and it might not be aligned with what we are doing, whatever that other frequency is that we're completely not in alignment with. But it doesn't, like, get clear first before you just go around waving magic wands and doing things. Like, get clear, what is that being there for? Maybe they're protecting something. Maybe they have some gold in the backyard that nobody's digging up for them and they can't leave until they know that it's safe. Like, you don't know. Like, maybe they're waiting for somebody to come back. Like, I don't know. Like, you just gotta like have a conversation. Say, what do you need? Do you need help? Like, maybe they just need some help because they don't have a physical body, but they do need some help. Maybe they're waiting. You just don't know until you ask. Like, have a conversation and find out why they're there. Because sometimes a lot of this is just the parts of us that are desiring to be seen and loved, and so start there. Start with being seen and being heard and being loved. And that goes for anything, and I can't think of a time where in any of these kind of situations where the energy hasn't been receptive to returning to love, hasn't been open to being loved. Sometimes they're not done not being loved, and so then like you're not going to like interfere with that necessarily, but they don't get to stay there. They don't get to stay where you are, right? And so there's just different ways to work with these frequencies. That's important to kind of look at it from the bigger perspective. But the biggest message here is to choose love, to choose to not be in fear, and to choose to be in your sovereignty, in your frequency, and to choose a lifestyle that is empowering you, that is as actually allowing your light body to expand and to strengthen and to be impenetrable. And that's really the clearest, most loving, if you want to call it a boundary, like that's the best boundary there is to just be you, is to just be so strong in yourself and so in love with yourself and so clear in who you are and so just connected to who you are that it's really obvious when there's another energy around. It's really obvious where you start and where the other ones, where you stop and where the other one starts, because you've clarified yourself and you've kind of regathered your pieces. So I teach people how to do that all the time. So if you want more information on that, you can pop over to the website and get started. But that's the essence of it, is come back to yourself and then watch things change dramatically, because you're not in all of these codependent patterns that allow for codependency to exist, because that's kind of the name of the game. It's like if you're playing with other frequencies and energies, it's because there's an agreement for codependence in some way, in some place where you're not relying on your own inner resource, your own power for the strength. You're actually saying, I'm not ready to reclaim that part of myself. So I'm going to pretend and use this energy to replace it for a little bit until I can muster up my courage to reclaim myself. So it's just games we play with ourselves, and it's all fine. But just know what you're playing, know the game you're playing, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Well, that was a rant. Usually I would have called in DiYeena halfway through this already, and we're already at like 45 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. So I'm still going to call in DiYeena to bring in the frequencies, because why not? That's important. So grab your tea. I'm going to go ahead and go right out and put you in touch with DiYeena, the Pleiadian family. Here we go. Greetings, DiYeena, the Pleiadian family. We are here to bring the love, and to sip the tea together here. So let's have a heart-to-heart here, to regather the frequencies, because a lot was shared here. So let us just have a moment here to ground in your body, to open your heart, to feel the frequencies and to feel the love through the core, through your core, through be in your heart. Sink down to your heart, have a breath in your heart as you sip your tea, and feel together here the love. Very good. Well, very good. This is great. Well, how could we share more than what is already shared? You see, this is a lot of information here. But it's really good to come human to human, because Ava really has a lot to share in the wisdoms here. And this is really more her cup of tea, so to speak, in the sense of her the way she's oriented in her particular soul song is actually quite clarifying, is quite discerning, is quite boundaried. Her husband always joked with her, you taught me more about boundaries than anyone I've ever met, you see. Or it's so hilarious that you're channeling Pleiadian here, and that you're so connected and so concerned about boundaries and discernment and all of these things, you see. It's a great conversation. It's very important, because in this world where people are activating their spiritual gifts and connecting into their higher self and connecting into their guides and connecting into who the heck knows what, You see, it's important to have the clarity. If you have the clarity within yourself, my dears, and you're working from the heart point of love, and you're holding that powerful intention of love, then it's going to be a good day, you see. And if you want the extra boost, well, you have your guides, you have your powerful protector guides. So you can just call on them as well and say, hey, we're going to just go and do this connection work. Just be there to support, you see, protective if need be. But when you start to circulate in your own higher self frequencies, where you're tuning in and amplifying and activating your light body on all these different dimensional frequencies, you are strengthening your field. The more you connect into your higher self, and we have this free activation here for higher self. You see, you can expand into all these different layers of who you truly are. When you do this consistently, what begins to form and happen is that you're actually expanding into these places that are more of you. And so it's more light, more connection, more of your frequency, more of your soul song. And that is discerning in and of itself. Because you're not needing anything outside of yourself when you are whole, when you are connected to your wholeness. There's no desire to go try on someone else's version of partial wholeness or codependency or anything like this, because you're already whole in yourself and you like your tunes the best. You like your notes the best. So of course you're going to just be jamming along with yourself, you see, because it's the best for you. So when you allow yourself to be connected to yourself, there's very much little to worry about in that field, you see. And it's important that you do have these things in your back pocket for a rainy day if need be, you see. But like Ava said, you see, it's all just a play of consciousness. So do not be afraid, my dear friends. Do not be afraid. Be in the love. Be in your heart. Be connected to your center point. Be connected to who you truly are. The more you're connected into your light, your love, your center point, your soul song, your you, who you are in consciousness, the more you are anchored in that, the more you're able to experience the beauty of duality, the beauty of polarity, the beauty of the life all around. You're able to be in honor of all the different frequencies that are different from you. So you can honor, which means to see as precious, the demon in the corner that's having its own show, doing its own thing and trying to scare and all this stuff. You can honor, you can see it as precious because you see the role it plays in consciousness. You see the role it plays in consciousness, you see. Because it allows for every experience to exist, you see. It allows for its opposite to also exist, you see. So we're creating a world where anything gets to be, you see. And our job is to come into wholeness, to come into the experience of the wholeness that always is, and come into the awe and the remembrance of who you are as a unique fractal in consciousness, choosing this ride on this journey of life. Because in the world of polarity, in the world of duality, there is specificity, there is individuality, there is discernment, there is boundary, there is all of these fractals in consciousness that are unique, that do sound different, dance different, look different, play different, you see. And we get to be in honor of all of that. And the more that you can tune into your differentiating factor, what makes you you, and be good with that, get good with that, be in love with that. Do not fear it. Do not be hiding it. Let yourself be seen. Let yourself be appreciated. Let yourself be loved by yourself, starting with you, you see. When you're really able to do this, then you strengthen yourself. You're so strong in yourself. That puts you in a very different perspective of all these other frequencies that you might not agree with, or that you might not get along with, or that you might even question, what the heck are they doing? You see, that's not how it goes, you see. Instead, you are able to see it through a lens of appreciation for its existence, because you're appreciating your own existence. So we get to the place then where we're appreciating everyone for the gifts they give, for the challenges they allow to be presented, and for the offerings that we all bring to the table. Because even the worst ones, if you want to call it like that, have the the biggest gift, because they're the ones that give the light workers something to do, you see. So without the ones playing in the dark, how would you get off your booty and start being in the light more? You see, well, we better even out the playing field, you see. So we all give each other something to do, something to focus on, something to play with, you see. So honor it all, and also be discerning. And the way to be discerning is to be in love with yourself, first and foremost, and to strengthen your own light, because that makes it so that not only are you impenetrable, so to speak, but it makes it so that you are able to have a clearer perspective on this dance that we call life. Well, blessings, dear friends. We hope this video has been very helpful for it. Might be one you turn to again and again, perhaps, you see, because it's quite a bite off, a chew. It's one to chew on, you see, for a while. Well, blessings, dear friends. We love you dearly. We hope to see you again soon. I trust that message was exactly what you needed to hear today. And if you enjoyed this, there's always more. So we do a live stream every month called DiYeena Live. I also do private readings you can sign up for on the website. And there's just way more ways to stay in touch and to get connected into your soul song and your essence and who you truly are, and to give that gift that only you have in the world, and to do it in a way that lights yourself up and lights the world up. So blessings, dear friends. We'll see you on the other side.